Hello, my name is Emily. I am 22 years old. Today I want to tell you a story. It is a story about my first night as a wife. When you close your eyes and think of a wedding night, what do you see? Maybe you see soft rose petals on a big bed. Maybe you hear sweet music playing. Maybe you imagine two people who are deeply in love. They are ready to start their life together. That is the dream. That is what every girl in my town dreamed of. But my reality was very different. My wedding night did not look like a dream to me. The white bed did not look romantic. It looked like a cage. The man standing in the room with me was not my love. He was my owner, or so I thought. People always told me, Emily, marriage is the beginning of a woman's life. But as I stood there in my heavy dress, I did not feel like my life was beginning. I felt like my freedom was ending. I was so terrified. My heart was beating so fast, I thought it would break my ribs. I was alone in a room with a man I barely knew. Everyone in town said he was dangerous. I thought he was a monster. I thought he would hurt me. But I was wrong. I was so wrong. What happened behind that locked door changed everything. It changed everything I knew about men, and it changed everything I knew about love. Let me take you back to where this nightmare started. It was 2 weeks before the wedding. The year was 1978. I was a normal girl. I worked at a small bookshop. I loved reading books and drinking tea. I had dreams. I wanted to travel. I wanted to see the blue ocean. I wanted to find a boy who wrote me poems. But life does not always care about our dreams. One Tuesday, I came home from work. The house was quiet, too quiet. I walked into the kitchen. The air smelled of old coffee. My father was sitting at the wooden table. His head was in his hands. His shoulders were shaking. My father was a strong man. I had never seen him cry, but that night he was sobbing like a child. "Papa," I whispered, "what is wrong?" He looked up at me. His eyes were red. His face looked old and gray. On the table there was a yellow envelope. "I am sorry, Emily," he said. His voice was broken. "I am so sorry." "What happened?" I asked. I felt a cold knot in my stomach. "I lost everything," he said. "The money, the shop, even this house." I could not breathe. This house was all we had left of my mother. "How much?" I asked. He told me the number. It was a fortune. We could not pay it back in 100 years. "They will take the house next week," he cried. Then he looked at me. "But there is a way out, Mr. Vance," he said. "Arthur Vance, he bought my debt." I froze. Everyone in our town knew the name Arthur Vance. He was a businessman. He was 30 years old, 10 years older than me. He was rich. He was powerful, and people said he was as cold as ice. They said he destroyed people without blinking. They said he had no heart. "Mr. Vance made an offer," my father said softly. "He will forgive the debt. He will let us keep the house." "What does he want?" I asked, but I already knew the answer. My father looked at the floor. "He wants a wife, Emily. He wants you." My world stopped. I felt dizzy. "You sold me," I whispered. "I saved us," my father shouted. "It is the only way, Emily. Please do it." I ran to my room and cried. I wanted to run away, but I looked at the photos of my mother. I could not let my father live on the street. I wiped my face. "Goodbye, Emily," I whispered. I decided to marry the monster. The wedding day arrived like a storm. It was a boiling hot Saturday in July. The church was full of strangers in expensive clothes. Hundreds of people were there. There were business partners, rich families, and local gossipers. They were all smiling and drinking cold champagne. They looked at me and whispered, "Look at her. She is so lucky. She is marrying Arthur Vance, the richest man in the state." They did not see how much my hands were shaking. They did not see the terror hiding behind my white veil. Before the music started, Arthur's mother, Mrs. Vance, came to find me. She was a tall, stiff woman who smelled like expensive perfume. She did not hug me. She just opened a small velvet box. Inside, there was a necklace. It was made of thick, heavy gold. It looked very old and very valuable. "This is the Vance family heirloom," she said in a voice as cold as ice. "My husband gave it to me. Now you must wear it. Do not lose it." She fastened it around my neck. Click, it was so heavy. It did not feel like jewelry. It felt like a golden chain. The metal was cold against my skin. The edges felt sharp and painful. "This necklace is worth more than your life," she warned me. I could hardly breathe. I walked down the aisle. The heavy gold pressed into my skin. Every step I took hurt. I looked at the end of the long room. Arthur was standing there. He was wearing a black suit. He was tall with very broad shoulders. He had dark hair and eyes that looked like flint. He was not smiling, not even a tiny bit. His jaw was tight and he looked angry. I thought, he hates me. He just bought me because he needs an heir. When we said our vows, his voice was low and flat. "I do." It did not sound like love. It sounded like he was signing a business contract. When he kissed me, it was fast. His lips felt dry and cold. He did not hold me close. I felt so alone in that crowded room. The party ended late at night. We walked to his car. It was a long, black luxury car that shone under the streetlights. The driver opened the door. The inside smelled like expensive leather and old cigars. Arthur sat on one side, and I sat on the other, pressed against the window. I watched the city lights disappear as we drove toward the hills. The car ride was completely silent. I wanted to say something, but my throat was dry. I looked at Arthur from the corner of my eye. He was looking out the window. His hand was resting on his knee. It was a big, strong hand. I felt a wave of panic. Once he turned to look at me. He opened his mouth like he wanted to speak. I thought he was going to yell. I flinched and held my breath. But he did not say anything. He just sighed and looked away. That sigh sounded so annoyed. I thought, I am boring him. He is already tired of me. We arrived at his house late that night. It was not a normal house. It was a massive mansion. It was built of cold, gray stone. It looked like a castle from a scary movie. Inside, the house was beautiful but very cold. The floors were made of white marble. The ceilings were so high that I felt tiny. Everything felt empty and very vast. Our footsteps made a loud sound on the floor. Click, clack, click, clack. There were no servants to greet us. It was just Arthur and me. I felt like a prisoner. "The bedroom is upstairs," he said. His voice was deep, and it made me jump. It was the first thing he had said to me in a very long time. I nodded my head, but I could not speak. I followed him up the wide staircase. Every step took me closer to the moment I feared the most. We entered the bedroom. It was a giant room with a massive bed in the middle. The bed had red silk sheets. To my eyes, the red silk looked like blood. I felt a cold chill run down my spine. Then I heard a sound that I will never forget. Click. Arthur locked the door. He turned the small metal key and put it in his pocket. My blood turned to ice. Why did he lock it? I thought to myself. Is it so I cannot run away from him? Is it so no one can hear me if I scream? The room was suddenly very quiet. I could hear the clock ticking on the wall. Tick tock, tick tock. It sounded like a countdown to my pain. I was so very afraid. Arthur turned away from me. He started to take off his clothes for the night. He took off his black suit jacket and threw it on a chair. He loosened his tie. He unbuttoned the top of his white shirt. Every movement he made was slow. Every movement felt like a threat to me. I stood with my back against the wall. I wanted to disappear into the wallpaper. I crossed my arms over my chest to protect myself. The heavy gold necklace felt even tighter now. It felt like it was choking me. I could not breathe. My chest felt very tight. My hands were shaking and I could not stop them. I closed my eyes. Tears began to burn under my eyelids. I was ready to cry. "Please," I whispered inside my head. "Please let it be quick. Please do not hurt me." I heard his footsteps coming closer to me. Thud, thud, thud. He stopped right in front of me. I could smell his cologne. It smelled like wood and rain. I felt his large shadow cover me. I squeezed my eyes shut as tight as I could. I waited for his hands to grab me. I waited for him to push me onto the bed. My heart was pounding like a loud drum. Boom, boom, boom. I held my breath. I waited for the blow. I waited for his hands to be mean, but the blow did not come. Instead, I felt his large, warm hands move near my neck. I jumped and let out a small cry. "Stay very still, Emily," he said. His voice was not cold anymore. It was soft. It was almost a whisper. I felt him touch the heavy gold necklace. I heard a small click. Suddenly, the weight was gone. The heavy gold chain was in his hand. I felt like I could breathe for the very first time that day. I opened my eyes. Arthur was looking at the necklace. His face looked sad and tired. "My mother should not have given this to you," he said quietly. "It is too heavy for a girl like you." He walked over to a small table. He put the gold necklace down. It made a loud, cold sound. Then he looked at me. He saw my tears. He saw how my whole body was shaking. "Why are you so afraid of me?" he asked. I could not answer him. I just looked at the locked door. Arthur followed my eyes and he understood. "I locked the door so my mother would not come in," he explained. "She wants to control everything. I wanted us to have peace. I am not going to hurt you." I wiped my eyes with my hands. "But you bought me," I whispered. You paid my father's debt. Everyone says you are a monster who wants a slave. Arthur sighed and sat down on a chair. He did not sit on the bed with me. Your father is a good man, Emily, he said. He was my teacher when I was a boy. He's helped me when I had nothing. When I saw he was in trouble, I wanted to help him. But my mother would only let me use the money if I took a wife from a good family. I chose you because I remembered your smile at the bookshop. I did not want to own you. I wanted to save you from the other men who would have been much worse. My heart stopped racing. I looked at him. He did not look like a monster. He looked like a man who was very lonely, just as lonely as I was. Suddenly, my stomach made a very loud noise. I was so embarrassed. I had not eaten anything all day. I was too nervous to eat at the party. Arthur actually smiled. It was a small smile, but it was very kind. You are hungry, he said. He stood up and went to a small fridge in the corner. He took out some bread, some butter, and a piece of yellow cheese. He did not call a servant. He started to make a sandwich himself. He cut the bread into neat slices. He spread the butter very carefully. He put the cheese in the middle and cut the sandwich into 2 triangles. He walked over and handed me the plate. Eat, Emily, he said. The bread was soft and white. The cheese was salty and delicious. It was the best thing I had ever tasted in my entire life. As I ate, Arthur sat on the floor near the bed. He stayed far away from me. He started to tell me about his childhood. He told me how he liked to draw. He told me how he hated the big, cold parties. He sounded just like a normal person. I felt a strange warmth in my heart. The room did not feel like a cage anymore. It felt like a safe place. I looked at this man, my husband, and I felt a tiny spark of hope. Arthur stood up and looked at the empty plate. Are you still hungry? He asked me. I shook my head no. I felt full for the first time in days. He walked over to the closet and pulled out a blanket and a pillow. He did not come toward the bed. He stayed away. Instead, he walked toward the long sofa by the window. The bed is yours, Emily, he said. It is soft. You should sleep. I will sleep on the sofa tonight. I was very shocked. I looked at the giant bed, then I looked at him. But we are married, I whispered. Arthur looked at me with kind eyes. He pulled out the small metal key from his pocket. He placed it on the table next to my hand. You are my wife, Emily, but you are not my prisoner, he said in a soft voice. We have a lot of time. We have a whole lifetime together. There is no need to rush anything tonight. Lock the door if it makes you feel safe. I promise I will not touch you. I will wait until you are ready. He lay down on the sofa and covered himself with the blanket. He turned off the lamp by the window. The room was dark, but the moon was shining. I climbed into the bed and pulled up the warm sheets. I did not lock the door. I did not feel the need to anymore. I watched Arthur in the moonlight. His breathing was slow and steady. He was already falling asleep. For the first time in weeks, the knot in my stomach was gone. I did not feel a grand romance that night. I felt something much more important. I felt safe. I was finally at peace. I realized that the heavy gold necklace was just metal. It did not have any power over me. It was just a thing. Arthur did not want to control me. He wanted to protect me. That was the start of our real story together. Today, Arthur and I have been married for 50 years. His hair is white now, and he walks much slower. He is still my best friend. He still makes me sandwiches when I am tired. He is still afraid of spiders, and I still laugh. I want every woman listening to me to remember this. Your body belongs to you. Your fear is real, and it is valid. A real man never uses his power to make you feel afraid. He uses his strength to give you peace and comfort. True love is not always about expensive rings. Sometimes it starts with a cheese sandwich and a promise of safety. If this story touched your heart, please like this video. Share it with your daughters and your sons today. Everyone deserves to know what real love looks like. Real love is kindness. Real love is safety. Thank you for listening.